Okay, being Remembrance Day, the stories we're doing is on our family members is what I was doing first. So I am doing two. One is a family member of my husband's and one is mine. The first one is Herbert Helmer Kinghorn. He was a warrant officer too. He was with the RCAF Navigator, serial number R126655, RAF Squadron 156, Pathfinders. February the 20th, 1920 to January the 15th, 1944. He joined the RCAF September 2nd, 1941. Herbie signed on with his crew at RAF Warboys June 28, 1943. He was their navigator and bomb aimer. He had been a bookkeeper for Hiram Walker's distillery, and he was very good with numbers. That's why he was a navigator. His aircraft, a Lancaster JB-483M for Mother, was shot down over Holland on its way to Brunswick, Germany on January the 15th, 1944. The remains of the crew were found by a German patrol and were buried there. Later, they were moved to Germany after the war, and they are now buried in the Commonwealth Cemetery. We recently were able to meet with one of Herbie's crewmates who was on sick leave that night, and he just turned 98. Herbie was born in Kitchener, but he grew up in Windsor. He left behind his dad, David, his mom, Mabel, and a younger brother, Russell. The next one is Leslie Harold Curtis. He was a sergeant, 1313229, RAF Volunteer Reserve, 44 Rhodesia Squadron. Killed in action February the 8th, 1943. His Lancaster took off from RAF Waddington on the night raid, Operation Lorient. The aircraft was presumed lost over the sea. His wingman said it was there 1 minute and gone the next. All but one have unknown graves and are remembered with honor at Runnymede Memorial in England. One washed ashore and is buried in Denmark. Leslie was 21 years old, and in High Wycombe, England, he left his dad, Harold, and mom, Edith, and his sister, Willa. The burning question, why did they join up and go to war? I can't ask Leslie or Herbie, who left behind mothers who never recovered from the loss of their sons. I can't ask any of one of the over 55,000 young men from Bomber Command alone who lost their lives at the hands of the enemy. Why did they go? Would they do it again? Over the years as a Legion member, I have spoken to many veterans. There are many different reasons. One, an orphan from a young age, found family in the Navy. Another wanted a better life than that of a farm boy on the prairies. Another wanted some excitement in his boring life. Be careful what you wish for. But the one thing they all agree on, that they thought they could make a difference, and they did. Their dedication and sacrifices will never be forgotten. Would they do it again? Knowing what it would be like, a resounding yes from each and every one. My husband's grandfather was shot in the face in World War I. After he recovered, they wanted to send him home. He refused and became an ambulance driver. These actions by brave men and women are what our country was built on. Always remember them.
It's very interesting the reasons people had for going to war. We had a neighbor years ago, Grandpa Ogilvie, we called him. He was at Vimy Ridge, so I asked him about World War I. I wanted to know why he signed up. He said, to see France and the world and England. Also, I wanted to see if those English girls were as pretty as I hoped they'd be. Well, the trenches of France were hell. He didn't see the world, but those English girls were just lovely. Captain J.E. Brown, Royal Canadian Army Medical Corps, that's my dad. He was in medical school at Queen's University, and his whole classmate, him and his classmates were all chomping at the bit to get overseas, to help in any way they could to defeat Adolf Hitler and take care of any of our boys that were injured. The Army paid for Dad and his classmates their tuition for the last year, which was very fortunate for my dad because he'd completely run out of money. He told me that he saw things he never thought he'd see, terrible injuries, He learned of horrible atrocities like the Holocaust. He also met wonderful people, and he got married to my mother. But above all, he decided definitely war is hell. Nursing sister W.F. Surratt was my mother. My mom was working in a hospital in Queens, New York City, when Pearl Harbor happened, and the other nurses wanted her to join the U.S. Army Medical Corps. But being a proud Canadian, she went home and enlisted. Her brother also enlisted, and they both went overseas together to help treat our wounded boys and hopefully see the defeat of Adolf Hitler firsthand. Her boys, as she called them, gave her a sense of humanity. She came home with a sense of having done something worthwhile, and she felt good about that, herself and her country.